UNTV News and Rescue.
Good evening, Philippines and the world. Today is Wednesday, July 20, 2016. Join us in the next hour as we deliver today's top stories around the globe. I'm former Congressman Erin Tañada sitting in for Angelo Castro III.
We are here to give you carefully gathered stories, assuring you of accurate, truthful, and balanced newscasts. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
We are also seen in the 1,360 satellite monitoring centers nationwide and via live streaming worldwide through www.untvweb.com. And this is Why News. Here are the headlines. 9 out of 10 Filipinos trust President Rodrigo Duterte. Congresswoman Gloria Arroyo fails to get discharged from the Veterans Memorial Medical Center. The Supreme Court has yet to issue a copy of the decision regarding Congresswoman Gloria Arroyo's case.
The PNP Special Action Force troopers take over as prison guards at the new Bilibid prisons beginning today. The Republican Party formally announces Donald Trump as their official presidential candidate. And the Philippine Sports Commission plans to create an institution that would enhance the capabilities of Filipino athletes.
The Supreme Court still fails to release today the copy of the decision which acquitted former President and now Pampanga Congresswoman Gloria Arroyo of plunder. Roderick Mendoza will tell us why.
Voting 11-4, the Supreme Court yesterday dismissed the plunder case against former President Gloria Arroyo in connection to the alleged anomalous disbursement of 366 million peso PCSO funds. The court also ordered the immediate release of Arroyo from the Veterans Memorial Medical Center where she has been placed in hospital detention since October 2012. But the former president cannot be freed yet because until now, the Supreme Court has failed to release a copy of the decision. Since this morning, Arroyo's lawyer was waiting for the release of the resolution.
Ayoko magsalita na unjudilayan. Inaasahan na lang namin sana na ngayong araw lumabas na yung decision.
He says while Mrs. Arroyo is pleased with the outcome of her case, she was a bit disappointed.
May konting disappointment kasi may expectation na rin na makakalabas sa kahapon pero hindi nangyari.
Pursuant to the process at the High Court, the opinions of the justices will be collected after the voting at the en banc session. Once the draft of the decision is finalized, the justices need to sign it before copies are distributed to the parties. Roderick Mendoza, UNTV News and Rescue, Supreme Court.
Congresswoman Gloria Arroyo will have to spend another night at the Veterans Memorial Medical Center despite the order from the Supreme Court for her release. Joyce Balancho will tell us why.
Members of the media waited the whole day today at the Sandigan Bayan for a copy of the resolution from the Supreme Court in connection with Congressman Gloria Arroyo's release from detention. But until closing time at 5 p.m., no resolution has arrived. Yesterday, the Supreme Court granted Arroyo's plea to dismiss the plunder case filed against her. However, the Sandigan Bayan First Division handling Arroyo's case will still have to issue a release order which will be delivered to the Philippine National Police that has custody over Arroyo. Arroyo's plunder case filed by the Ombudsman on July 2012 stemmed from the anomalous spending of intelligence funds of the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office or PCSO when she was still sitting as president. Her bail petition was denied by the court, while 3 of her co-accused were able to afford temporary freedom. The court ordered her arrest in October 2012, but soon after that, the Sandigan Bayan granted her plea to be placed under hospital arrest due to her health condition. The case proceeded to trial, and Arroyo's camp then asked the court to dismiss the case due to lack of evidence. The Sandigan Bayan denied Arroyo's motion, prompting her camp to elevate the case to the Supreme Court. The camp of Congresswoman Gloria Arroyo said they're hoping for Arroyo's immediate release, stating that she has suffered enough under hospital arrest for more than 5 years. They maintained that the case was just a form of persecution and reiterated that there was no sufficient evidence against her. Joyce Balancho, UNTV News and Rescue, Sandigan Bayan.
Former President and incumbent Pampanga Congresswoman Gloria Macapagal Arroyo has to spend another night at the Veterans Memorial Medical Center. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
Despite the welcome home banner posted by the supporters of former President and now Pampanga Representative Gloria Macapagal Arroyo at the main gate of Veterans Memorial Medical Center, Congresswoman Arroyo is still yet to be released from her detention. This is because the release order, which will implement her freedom through Sandigan Bayan and the Philippine National Police, has not been issued up to now. The camp of CGMA has been celebrating since yesterday after the Supreme Court decided to clear the former president from the charges filed before Sandigan Bayan on the alleged anomalies on the 366 million peso intelligence funds of the Philippine Charity Sweepstakes Office. However, the celebration is hindered by the delay in the issuance of the said release order. PNP has maintained a tightened security around the vicinity of VMMC and added traffic and hospital security personnel to prevent congesting the traffic flow. Media personnel has remained vigilant for 24 hours and kept watch on the pending release of the former president. A few supporters of CGMA tried to wait for some time at the hospital's main gate to welcome and celebrate her supposed release.
Kaya kami po andito ngayon para saksihan ang aming inaantay na paglaya ng ating dating Pangulo.
Kami po'y tahimik at buong pusong pumunta po rito sa mga makita ng aming pamasahe.
A copy of the resolution signed by the Supreme Court's justices will compel the Sandigan Bayan Anti-Graft Court and the Philippine National Police to implement the release order. Yesterday, due to lack of sufficient evidence, the Supreme Court favored CGMA and acquitted her from the plunder case on the alleged misuse of hundreds of million peso worth of PCSO intelligence funds from 2008 to 2010. According to CGMA's counsel, upon release from VMMC, CGMA will proceed to her residence at La Vista Subdivision, Quezon City. Rosalie Cos, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
The Office of the Ombudsman insists it is an independent body and cannot be dictated upon by anyone in its decisions. Aiko Miguel will tell us why.
We are independent. We do not take orders from the President. We don't take signals from the President. We do our duty in accordance with what is expected of us. Wala kaming sinusundan na guideline. It is unfair to charge us to be lapdogs of the present administration.
This was the response of Ombudsman Conchita Carpio-Morales when she was asked for the reaction of the prosecution to the Supreme Court's dismissal of the plunder case of former President Gloria Arroyo. She also refuted that the prosecution lacks evidence in the case filed against the former president.
After the prosecution was able to prove, according to us, the guilt of GMA beyond reasonable doubt, the burden of evidence should have shifted to her, and she should have presented evidence to controvert our evidence. Unfortunately, the Supreme Court thought that our evidence was insufficient, contrary to what the media says, that lack of evidence.
Morales adds that while it is natural for the prosecution to be dismayed, they are ready to file a motion for reconsideration once they receive a copy of the Supreme Court decision.
If and when we should receive it, and we believe that a motion for reconsideration is warranted, we will certainly file one. If any doubts linger in the minds of the magistrates, we are ready to present our evidence via PowerPoint presentation and via representation of documentary exhibits.
Ombudsman Morales insists that they have proven the accused of being guilty beyond reasonable doubt, and these are based on the evidence they have gathered.
We would say otherwise. We believe that we were able to prove the guilt of GMA beyond reasonable doubt.
The Office of the Ombudsman also emphasized their responsibility in handling cases filed before their office. Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue Office of the Ombudsman.
President Rodrigo Duterte is named the most trusted official based on the new Pulse Asia survey. Nel Maribuhok will tell us why.
9 out of 10 Filipinos express confidence in President Rodrigo Duterte among top officials in the government. In the latest survey of Pulse Asia conducted from July 2 to 8 among 1,200 respondents, President Duterte got a record high of 91%, followed by Vice President Leni Robredo with 62% and Supreme Court Chief Justice Maria Lourdes Sereno with 35%. President Duterte received big trust ratings in Mindanao and National Capital regions, while VP Robredo earned high ratings in Visayas region. The survey also revealed the issues that Filipinos feel the Duterte administration need to prioritize in its first 6 months. Topping the list are economic issues such as controlling increasing prices, followed by stimulating the economy to create more jobs and creating new programs that will directly benefit the poor. Reducing criminality in the country also tops the peace and order issue. Finally, Filipinos also want to have national unity, particularly in political issues. Malacanang thanked the people for their overwhelming trust in President Duterte. According to Presidential Communications Secretary Martin Andanar, this serves as a reminder that meaningful change is now being felt. The Filipinos' trust also serves as an inspiration for the Duterte administration to continue working on providing people a better life. The survey was conducted amid issues in the country such as the appointment of VP Robredo as chairperson of Housing and Urban Development Coordinating Council or HUD-C, the filing of cases against former President Benigno Aquino III in connection with Disbursement Acceleration Program or DOTr and January 25 Mama Sapano encounter. The reported drug-related killings in various parts of the country and President Duterte's naming of 5 former and incumbent generals of Philippine National Police allegedly involved in illegal drugs operation. Nel Maribuhok, UNTV News and Rescue, Malacanang.
Former President Fidel V. Ramos wants to know President Rodrigo Duterte's parameters and guidelines in the planned bilateral talks with Beijing before he accepts his new job in the government. Victor Cosare will tell us why.
Former President Fidel Ramos believes that the recent ruling of the arbitral tribunal favoring the Philippines is not enough reason for the country to be aggressive with regard to the continuing sea dispute in the West Philippine Sea against China.
Let us proceed step by step. We cannot do much by jumping into the big conclusion that we won a big victory and then therefore we must conform. You remove those islands. No, it's not going to be like that. This is not a victory that we must gloat about. No. It's just a ruling in favor of our position. But the real victory is if we can achieve peace in the world.
Ramos is set to meet President Rodrigo Duterte this weekend to discuss the planned bilateral talks with China. The former president is being eyed to be the country's special envoy should a dialogue with Beijing pushes through. The former chief executive first wants to know the plans of the incumbent president.
At the very beginning, I already said I'm very honored. And I said I can do the job. But I also requested that some parameters or guidelines come from the President. Meron ba tayong Plan A, Plan B, Plan C?
However, Ramos is not yet 100% certain to accept the offer. One of his considerations is his health condition. Since October of last year, upon advice of his doctor, he had a pacemaker implanted due to high blood pressure and low heart rate.
But the overall health, you must enter into the hospital and have an executive checkup, including blood chemistry and all that, because you never can tell. On the other hand, basta hindi pa ako about to conk out, di tatanggapin ko.
If he accepts the position, Ramos will prioritize restoring the rights of Filipino fishermen to once again freely fish in the disputed territories like the Scarborough Shoal. He says the issue and joint development will just follow. Ramos adds that one important aspect that will contribute to the success of the negotiations is China's openness to bilateral talks. Victor Cosare, UNTV News and Rescue, Manila.
Security is heightened in Zamboanga City ahead of President Rodrigo Duterte's arrival tomorrow. The president might also proceed to Basilan and Sulu for a meeting with MNLF founding chairman Nur Miswari. Bernard Dades tells us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte is expected to arrive at the Edwin Andrews Air Base in Zamboanga City before lunch tomorrow. The purpose of his visit is to speak with the government troopers together with Department of National Defense, AFP Chief of Staff and other members of the cabinet. The Armed Forces of the Philippines Western Mindanao Command is enforcing tighter security measures, especially because threat is high against the president due to his intensive campaign against illegal drugs and crimes. Furthermore, Basilan and Sulu is a known bulwark of the Abu Sayyaf group.
Pinaparaan i-secure siya, by all means.
From Zamboanga City, the president is more likely to proceed to the AFP 104th Brigade in Tabiawan, Isabela, Basilan to have a talk with the soldiers assigned there. He is expected to return to Zamboanga for the command conference and to visit all wounded soldiers in the hospital at AFP Westmincom headquarters.
Kung tutuloy man siya, wala sa itinerary namin yon, walang usapin na ganon. So kung tutuloy yon is because he decided to go there, just in case. Pero sa amin, wala tayong ganong nababag.
The AFP is not certain if the president will go to Sulu because it is not included in the itinerary. In case the president decides to meet with Moro National Liberation Front founding chairman Nur Miswari, Tan said his men are ready to provide for his security. Bernard Dades, UNTV News and Rescue.
Y News will be right back. Changes in the new Bilibid prisons take place today. Bernard Dades will tell us why.
The first batch of more than 300 Philippine National Police Special Action Force troopers are now on duty at the new Bilibid prison. Gradually, the SAF troopers will take over and replace the 900 guards of the NBP as requested by Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre. PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa expressed his confidence in the capabilities of the SAF troopers to guard the inmates in the Bilibid.
Alam niyo bakit andito kayo? Because kayo ang pinakamagaling na pulis sa buong Pilipinas. Ang atin lang namang hangarin dyan is mahinto ang pagpasok ng mga kontraband sa loob ng piitan. Mahinto yung komunikasyon nila to the outside world kung saan namamayagpag yung kailang pag-order ng droga doon sa ibang bansa. Hindi po sila makukurap. They are the most incorruptible policemen in the whole Philippines.
Alongside the ceremonial turnover of duties, the SAF troopers held the thorough search or Oplan Galugad in Building 14. All 53 high-profile inmates were boarded into 2 buses, including Herbert Colanco, Peter Co, and JB Sebastian before they executed the operation. The troopers were able to seize cash money, a number of cigarette packets, appliances such as TV and electric fans, signal booster and bladed weapons.
Kahit anong jam ng signal dyan, meron silang signal booster para sa cellphone nila. So nakakontak pa rin sila. So yun nakuha kanina, di ba? Doon sa bubong sa kubol ni Peterco.
Kalugad held under the leadership of Justice Secretary Vitaliano Aguirre. Meanwhile, Secretary Aguirre was unfazed by the assassination plot discovered against him by high-profile drug lords from inside the bilibid.
Sariwang-sariwa pa po ang nakuha kong informasyon, very reliable information. At ito ina-address ko rin dun sa ating mga napaloob dyan, mga drug lords natin dyan sa maximum at sa building 14. Nagkaroon po sila ng pool o nangalap po sila, nagkasundo sila, yung mayamang mga drug lords dyan na mag-pool ng 100 billion pesos para daw i-corrupt ang Secretary of Justice. At kung hindi makukurap ang Secretary of Justice, ay i-liquidate na lamang ang Secretary of Justice at sila po ay mayroong kontrata na 50 million pesos for my head. Yan po ay tinanggap na ng isa rin sa mga inmates dyan sa Building 14.
It has been reported that a total of 1 billion peso bounty is placed on the head of President Rodrigo Duterte and PNP Chief Ronald De La Rosa due to the government's campaign against illegal drugs. Bernard Dadis, UNTV News and Rescue.
The Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or TESDA, will open its training centers to surrendering drug dependents. Brian De Paz tells us why.
Drug dependents should be able to get decent jobs or livelihood source once they complete their rehabilitation. This is what the Technical Education and Skills Development Authority, or TESDA, believes in order to solve and fast-track its resolution of illegal drug problems in the country. Because of this, TESDA will be opening its training centers to all drug dependents for them to have a decent job in the future and completely withdraw from their vices.
Binigyan ng instruction ni Secretary Mamondiong ang lahat ng regional at provincial directors pati na ang school administrators ng TESDA para makipag-coordinate sa Philippine National Police at DILG na kanyang binubuksan ang lahat ng training centers ng TESDA para sa pagpapalawak ng kasanayan ng yung mga rehabilitated na mga drug dependents at users.
TESDA is also planning on putting up training facilities inside the prison.
Doon na mismo sa loob ng prison siguro. Let us see if we can provide the facilities. We will coordinate with the Bureau of Prisons. Kailangan din nila ang pagbabago.
Between now and December 2016, meron naman kaming siguro na budget pa for scholarship. Pero titingnan pa rin namin sa koordinasyon namin sa PNP at DILG kung ilan yan.
Meanwhile, TESDA and the Mindanao State University, or MSU, have signed today a memorandum of agreement that expands vocational and technical courses for Mindanaons. Through the agreement, poor residents in Mindanao will be provided assistance for them to improve their lives.
This is a levy that we can help very much in the alleviation of poverty as one of the flagship program of the Duterte administration. We are very happy with this challenge, and we are ready to help.
MSU has 11 campuses that offer courses in information technology, community development, fisheries, agriculture, and engineering that fits to the programs of TESDA. Brian De Paz, UNTV News and Rescue, Taguig City.
More than 200 police personnel joined a human rights seminar in line with the government's intensive campaign against illegal drugs. Joan Nano will tell us why.
Over 200 personnel of the Philippine National Police have participated in a seminar on human rights under the theme Curtailing Human Rights in the Name of National Security. The training aims to remind and refresh PNP personnel of all the pertinent provisions of the human rights law to ensure such rights are not violated while the police are performing their duty and upholding the government's campaign against illegal drugs.
We want to reassure, as a law enforcers, we are bounded to follow the law, the Constitution, and to respect the rights of all the people in enforcing the law and making our country peaceful and in order.
The PNP trusts that such seminar will help them assure the public that all police operations are done in accordance with the law, such as in the conduct of arrest against law offenders.
Informing or repressing our personnel on the existing laws. This will be as our tools para lalong silang magporsige sa kanilang trabaho, knowing up to what level that we can enforce the law at a certain limitation, of course, and I want to reassure again that we will respect human rights and follow the rule of law.
The training was led by former National Security Advisor Attorney Alexander Aguirre, where topics on the provisions of the 1987 Constitution, Bill of Rights, social justice and human rights, national security, among others, were discussed. Just recently, human rights advocates called on President Rodrigo Duterte to end extrajudicial killings of some drug suspects. The group appealed for respect on the rights of the drug suspects and entitled them to fair trial. Vice President Leni Robredo has also issued a statement condemning the spate of extrajudicial killings in the country. Robredo likewise has emphasized the importance of due process and serving justice to every Filipino. Joan Nano, UNTV News and Rescue, Camp Crame.
The Department of Transportation plans to transfer the impounding area of vehicles to Tarlac. Mon Hocson tells us why.
Starting next week, all impounded vehicles will be sent to Tarlac City by the Department of Transportation. DOTr says they want to teach violators a lesson so they will not commit the same mistake again.
Inconveniencing daw sa mga nahuhuli. Ma'am, yung mga nahuhuli, nag-i-inconvenience sa ibang tao eh. Bakit naman may konsiderasyon na inconvenience sa mga nakakasala? Alagaan naman yung sasakyan nila ron.
A hectare lot owned by the Land Transportation Office will be used as the new impounding area. Secretary Tugade wants the impounding area prepared in 7 days. The Transportation Department also wants to raise the penalty because transporting the vehicles to Tarlac will be costly.
So, alam mo, pag disiplina, kailangan paminsan-minsan may kurot. Ang disiplina, paminsan-minsan may konting upak na ganyan. Yung bang nakakaramdam ng sakit para dumiretso.
The Transportation Department will give consideration if a violator can settle the penalty right away so that there is no need for his vehicle to be impounded. DOTr explains that this will not yet be implemented for vehicles apprehended by the MMDA, but the department is now negotiating with the MMDA for its future implementation. Currently, impounded vehicles piled up at the LTO. Many of these have already been abandoned by the owners. With the new rules, all apprehended vehicles like Colorum will be impounded in Tarlac. Some motorists are in favor of the plan of the department.
Pwede rin, maganda rin po yun. Para matuto yung mga alam mo Colorum ka, bakit ba naman hindi mo gawa ng paraan na ano?
Bakit? Pwede rin, para madala nga sila eh. Pwede rin yun. Kasi sa dami nga ng Colorum na ngayon, di ba?
This is just one of the steps that the Department of Transportation is doing to resolve the traffic problem in Metro Manila. Mon Hocson, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
Philippine Atmospheric, Geophysical and Astronomical Services Administration or PAGASA says Metro Manila and the rest of the country will experience partly cloudy to cloudy skies with isolated rain showers and thunderstorms. No tropical cyclone is expected to affect the country.
Y News will be right back. 5 Taiwanese fishing vessels set sail for Taiwan's Seoul Holding in the South China Sea earlier today. Meanwhile, Italian authorities say they've rescued at least 2,500 migrants at the sea off Libya's coast, recovering one body. Marge Navarro tells us why.
Off the coast of Libya, more than 2,500 migrants were plucked from overcrowded boats on Tuesday, and one body was recovered as rescue operations continued in the area. People smugglers operating in Libya took advantage of calm seas and warm weather, sending at least 26 rafts and wooden boats toward Italy packed with migrants fleeing violence and poverty at home, a Coast Guard spokesman said. 3 Italian Navy ships participated in the rescues, bringing over 1,000 people to safety. Also joining the rescues are 2 ships participating in the European Union anti-people smuggling mission, Sophia. In China, President Xi Jinping reiterated the commitment to lifting all of the poor across China out of poverty by 2020 during his inspection tour in the province of Ningxia Autonomous Region from Monday to Tuesday. During a visit to local villages to inspect poverty relief progress, he congratulated villagers for their achievement in shaking off poverty and gave further advice on children's education and agricultural production. While visiting a vegetable greenhouse in Yongning County, he called on the enterprises in poverty-stricken regions to help alleviate poverty for common prosperity. China has helped 700 million rural residents out of poverty over the past 3 decades and will lift another 50 million people out of poverty by 2020. In Taiwan, 5 Taiwanese fishing boats set sail for Taiwan's Seoul Holding in the South China Sea earlier today in protest against last week's ruling in a case lodged by the Philippines in The Hague that denies China's vast claims to the South China Sea. The fishing boats, loaded with Taiwanese flags, eggs and instant noodles, left the south coast for a week-long trip to Ituaba, about 1,600 kilometers away. The move is largely symbolic as Taiwan has occupied Ituaba, which it calls Taiping, for decades. Nearly 200 marine-trained Coast Guard personnel are stationed on Ituaba. Marge Navarro, UNTV News and Rescue.
Donald Trump has been formally declared as the official presidential candidate of the Republican Party during the Republican convention held in Cleveland, Ohio today. Rosalie Cos will tell us why.
Accordingly, the chair announces that Donald J. Trump, having received a majority of these votes entitled to be cast at the convention, has been selected as the Republican Party nominee for President of the United States.
House Speaker Paul Ryan formally announced business mogul Donald Trump as the official Republican presidential candidate during the Republican National Convention in Cleveland, Ohio today. His son Donald Trump Jr. was emotional that his father's vote in his home state, New York, shared a big part in making his father achieve more than the necessary 1,237 delegates.
And it is my honor to be able to throw Donald Trump over the top in the delegate count tonight with 89 delegates and another 6 for John Kasich. Congratulations, Dad, we love you!
In his acceptance speech, the older Trump revealed his platform of government should he win in the general elections in November.
We're going to bring back our jobs. We're going to rebuild our depleted military and take care of our great veterans. We're going to have strong borders. We're going to get rid of ISIS. And we're going to restore law and order. But together, most importantly, we are going to make America great again.
Meanwhile, protests continue around the stadium where the Republican convention is being held. Protesters aired their opposition against Trump's plan of barring Muslim immigrants from entering America, as well as building a wall at the border of the United States and Mexico. Trump is expected to arrive in Cleveland tomorrow, together with his appointed vice president, current Indiana Governor Mike Pence, for the party address. Meanwhile, the Democratic Party is set to hold its convention in Philadelphia to formally announce former Secretary Hillary Clinton as the party's official candidate. The race has been heating up between the two candidates in battleground states Florida, Virginia, and Ohio, where Clinton is likely ahead of Trump by just 1-digit percentage based on latest polls. Rosalie Coz, UNTV News and Rescue.
The former head of the Russian anti-doping agency says the McLaren report is not trustworthy. Meanwhile, the Brazilian armed forces simulate a security operation in Rio ahead of the Rio Olympics opening on August 5. Aaron Romero will tell us why.
Former Russian anti-doping agency General Director Ramil Kabriev said on Tuesday that the World Anti-Doping Agency or WADA report on state-sponsored doping by Russian athletes at the 2014 Sochi Olympics is not trustworthy. An independent commission report published on Monday revealed evidence that dozens of Russians had used performance-enhancing drugs at the Sochi Olympics with the support of the Domestic Intelligence Service, the FSB. He also added that IOC should check samples of athletes from other countries and not just Russians. After WADA explicitly urged the International Olympic Committee to consider banning Russia from the Rio Olympics altogether, the IOC held an emergency meeting on Tuesday about Russia's participation in the Olympics. Meanwhile, the Brazilian armed forces simulated a security operation on Tuesday to prepare for the possibility of a violent protest during the 2016 Rio Olympics, which begin on August 5. Hundreds of officials disembarked from a Navy vessel which approached the coast from Guanabara Bay, where the sailing events will take place. Naval Admiral Ricardo Enrique Santos do Pilar is in charge of the operation in the Defense Control Center focused on Copacabana and surrounding areas. Anger is rising and half of Brazilians have said they are opposed to hosting the Olympics amid deepening concern over the high cost of the Games, according to a poll published on Tuesday. Brazil has said it will deploy about 85,000 police, soldiers, and other security to increase security in the city of over 6 million people. Aaron Romero, UNTV News and Rescue, New York.
The government wants to further enhance the skills of Filipino athletes by establishing the Philippine Sports Institute. Yoshiko Sata will tell us why.
President Rodrigo Duterte and Philippine Sports Commission or PSC Chairman William Butch Ramirez are now planning to establish the Philippine Sports Institute that would focus on athlete development in the country. According to Chairman Ramirez, the commission has started its data gathering this month to chart the master plan of the Sports Institute in August. During the program Get It Straight with Daniel Razon, Ramirez explained how important the said institution is in promoting sports advancement in the country.
I strongly believe that for as long as the Philippine sports will not have a sports institute na magtuturo ng mga coaches, magbibigay ng sports science, sports psychology, at saka mag-identify ng talent, maging pangarap lang yung Olympic gold. I'm trying to engage into seeking partnership and help sa mga private sector. Katulad niyo po kayo sa inyo, Kuya Daniel. Your television could greatly help sa communication, education. Hindi naman lahat sa pera eh. It can be in terms of goods, no? Ang aking nakita with the board na we should collaborate, we should partner for us to succeed. Hindi pwedeng kami-kami lang.
Ramirez says once the Sports Institute is established, he and President Duterte plan to issue an executive order for its continuous operation, even after they step down from office. Yoshiko Sata, UNTV News and Rescue, Quezon City.
EDSA northbound are now experiencing moderate to heavy traffic. Joan Nano is at Quezon Avenue to tell us why live. Joan?
Good evening, Kong Erin. We are now right here in Quezon
Quezon Avenue to know the latest traffic situation. And for all those who are traveling right now, they should prepare themselves and expect moderate to heavy traffic both in north and southbound area of EDSA as of the moment. In the southbound area, vehicles traveling from Balintawak going to Muñoz will feel light to moderate traffic situation. Moderate movement of vehicles will be observed from North EDSA going to Quezon Avenue until Kamuning area right now. Traffic in Cubao Aurora, Araneta Cubao and Main Avenue going to Santolan and Ortigas are now in a moderate to heavy traffic. Vehicles passing within Boni Avenue, Shaw Boulevard until Guadalupe is now experiencing tight traffic as well. Slow movement of vehicles along Buendia, Ayala, and Pasay Road until Magallanes Interchange is also seen as of this time. Moderate to heavy traffic is also seen along Malibay going to Mall of Asia, Pasay City. Meanwhile, in the northbound area, travelers coming from Pasay area going to Makati will also feel a moderate to heavy traffic situation. Travelers along White Plains Ortigas is also experiencing tight traffic until Aurora Boulevard, Cubao. But this will turn into light to moderate traffic from Nabacu Mart, Kamuning Flyover, as well as in Quezon Avenue Flyover. Moderate movement of vehicles can also be seen from Trinoma until Muñoz, while traffic situation is from light to moderate from the area of EDSA Bansalangin until Balintawak northbound. Once again, Kong Erin, we would like to remind all the motorists out there that since tomorrow is a Thursday, number coding scheme is still being implemented. All vehicles with plate numbers ending in 7 and 8 is strictly prohibited in all major roads within Metro Manila from 7 o'clock in the morning until 7 o'clock in the evening. And that was the latest traffic update. Back to you, Kong Erin.
Thank you, Joannano, live from EDSA, Quezon Avenue. A Brazilian judge orders an indefinite suspension on Facebook Inc.'s application called WhatsApp. Mon Hoxon tells us why.
A Brazilian judge ordered an indefinite suspension of Facebook Inc.'s WhatsApp on Tuesday after it failed to cooperate in a criminal investigation, the third such incident involving the popular phone messaging app since December. The office of Judge Daniela Barbosa Asuncao de Souza in the state of Rio de Janeiro said the order, affecting more than 100 million users throughout Brazil, will be lifted once Facebook surrenders data. She withheld details of the confidential case. WhatsApp stood by its defense that encrypted messages sent over the app are not stored on its servers, an argument that has won out on appeal, quickly reversing recent blockages that still show the vast discretionary power of Brazil's lower courts. Brazil boasts the world's fourth largest internet population, with many who rely on WhatsApp for communicating with colleagues as well as friends and family. Others were delighted at the news. The Office of Brazil's Attorney General reiterated its position that judges who suspend WhatsApp are incorrectly interpreting a 2014 law meant to provide a legal framework for the internet. Mon Hoxon, UNTV News and Rescue.
The government of El Salvador begins a campaign to clean up gang-related graffiti. Aiko Miguel tells us why.
The government of the world's most violent country, El Salvador, has begun a campaign to clean up gang-related graffiti, replacing it with positive and in many cases religious messages. See here and keep quiet if you want to enjoy your life. Read messages sprayed over community walls, along with a simple but sinister 18 of the notorious Barrio 18 gang frequently appearing above crime scenes. Guarded by a heavy police presence, a brigade of government-supported community workers head out with brushes and paint to clear their surroundings of the accumulating threats. Skulls and crossbones in memory of fallen gang members have been covered over with murals and messages of peace, as Vice Minister of Justice and Social Provisions Luis Flores explained. Thus far, 1,500 pieces of graffiti have been removed or painted over in what National Civil Police Director Howard Cotto says has been a bottom-up process.
La idea es borrarlos a nivel nacional, ¿verdad? Lo que pasa es que se ha iniciado en ciertas zonas Los criterios son varios. En primer lugar, en aquellos lugares donde hay más organización social, donde las comunidades han mostrado más interés en el borrado y nosotros nos vamos sumando al esfuerzo.
Aiko Miguel, UNTV News and Rescue.
U.S. First Lady Michelle Obama showed off her singing chops when she appeared on The Late Late Show with James Corden and sang her heart out during carpool karaoke. Meanwhile, British rock band Queen complained that the Republicans did not have authorization to use its 1977 anthem, We Are the Champions, as Donald and Melania Trump took the stage at the Republican National Convention. Robbie de Guzman tells us why.
Michelle Obama sang a spirited version of Beyoncé's girl power anthem Single Ladies while taking a spin with Late Late Show host James Corden during a carpool karaoke segment. Besides Beyoncé, the First Lady also channeled Missy Elliott, rocking out with Get Your Freak On with admirable results. The drive, which took place in Washington, D.C., happened after Corden picked up Obama at the White House. Obama also told Corden that it was the first time in 7.5 years that she's been able to sit in the front seat of a car. The segment airs today on CBS's The Late Late Show with James Corden. Meanwhile, Republican nominee Donald Trump and his wife Melania made dramatic entrances to the stage at the Republican National Convention on Monday night to the accompaniment of Queen's 1977 rock anthem We Are the Champions. Early on yesterday morning, the British rock band tweeted that the playing of the song was an unauthorized use at the Republican Convention against our wishes. The music's publishers, Sony ATV Music Publishing, said in a statement they had never been asked for permission to use the song. But Sean Spicer, chief strategist for the Republican National Committee, said on Twitter that the party had paid to license the use of the song in the arena. Other musicians have objected to Trump's use of their music at his campaign events. Robbie de Guzman, UNTV News and Rescue.
Those are the reasons behind the news, July 20, 2016. I'm former Congressman Erin Tañada sitting in for Angelo Castro III.
Reasons we delivered to you as they unfold. I'm Gerry Alcantara.
Because we need to know, we will always ask why. Thank you for watching Why News.